So, Ivana, you help people with their relationships, I understand. And to get to a point where you can really help somebody with their relationships, you must have gone through some difficult things and have navigated them yourself. I know already without asking, right? So maybe you felt like you don't have power in your relationship, or that you shouldn't stand up for yourself or shouldn't be happy. Those are very common patterns and beliefs. Can you tell and share a little bit about what you've been through?
Yeah, I'm happy to. And you are right. This is a great start. How to introduce to someone who is not sure, who is probably looking for the information, but all they know is where they are now, right? Where they are right now, which is a great start. I had to start there as well. So my symptoms or things I observed in my life were feeling in a fog and feeling disconnected with what I feel, what are my emotions, um, how do I tell the difference between, feeling sad when I'm about to disappoint someone, feeling scared when
Mm.
I'm bringing up a conflict or disagreement.
Just to lay the foundation so it's clear, you were not happy. You were in a relationship, but you were not happy. And the signs were what? You were anxious all the time. You were feeling like scared, like you're gonna be abandoned and left. What exactly were
Mm-hmm.
you feeling? Because why am I asking you this is
Mm-hmm.
because so many people they feel quite
Something
bad,
wrong.
quite bad, yeah, quite bad. They're not happy in
Yeah,
their relationship, but they ignore it because they think that this is just normal. This is just
normal.
just how people
Mm-hmm.
are, right? So can you give some paint a picture
Mm-hmm.
of how it was to, to
Mm-hmm.
live in the way that you were living, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm inviting you, if you can, and you're open and you
Mm-hmm.
want to even be graphic, to share your
Mm-hmm.
true fears and feelings, because this is going to inspire people and help them
Mm-hmm.
understand that what they're going through is just not normal, and it's not okay, and it can be
Yeah.
better.
So my world was small and it felt it's even shrinking. So the pattern in my relationship was that it was smaller and smaller and smaller. So as I mentioned, I was scared to bring up issues. I was scared to bring up conflict. And because I was not bringing up the conflict and avoiding it, the space in which I could live was kind of closing on me. So I was then feeling scared to go outside. I was scared to text my girlfriends. I was not sure if I meet the expectations of other person. So I won't be judged, criticized, that I basically please someone to be the way they want me to be. And over time, the life was kind of collapsing on me. So I was becoming a bundle of anxious kind of internal inquiry of, oh, is this going to upset him? Like, can I do this? And that was harder and harder in each step, in each round, in each
Yeah.
kind of cycle, as I would call it. Actually, it's like being on a carousel, and each ride you go, it goes faster and it goes more scary. And yeah, the progress was that it was closing on me. There was like increasingly, yeah, worse.
Yeah. So to paint like an even more clear picture, because now I'm thinking of you in a relationship with a man and you are scared,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But did he we're not here to blame or shame or
Mm-hmm.
anybody, but did he hurt you? Was he abusive? Did he scare you? Like
Mm-hmm.
what was the situation? How did you get to a
Mm-hmm.
point where you are like your life is becoming um your freedom is
Yeah.
becoming more and more limited? Was it just emotional? Was it
Mm-hmm.
something within you, or did somebody restrict you?
Yes, this is a great question. So I was not abused physically, it was emotional abuse and that sense of losing freedom in life. So it was through a series of maybe not judgments or criticism directed to me, but maybe it was very hiddenly said, I think your girlfriend's not being honest to you. So now I kind of feel like, oh, now I don't have connection with my friends. Or it was a comment about my mom, about my sister. So all in sudden, like I felt that I have nowhere to turn because my friends were criticized, or sometimes it could be comments like, well, a good mom would never do such and such. So in my mind, I want to be a good mom, but if good mom doesn't do that, then I shouldn't be doing that. So this is a hidden way of manipulating people without telling them, don't do this, don't go, don't call your friends. So it was very hidden and it was creeping very slowly. And just as I mentioned, I had that inability to speak back because on those situations, I rather freeze. So this is a stress response, which is really hard to catch in a sense, because I felt I'm calm in an argument. I felt like I have ability to think, but rather I was observing and not being able to speak up or argue back.
So a lot of people, they're not going to understand, why didn't you fight back? Why
Mm-hmm.
didn't you stand up for yourself? Why didn't you tell him that he may not speak badly about your friends and your mother, and instead you sacrificed yourself
Mm-hmm.
and listen to him and let this negativity program you. A lot of people, they're not going to understand this,
Yeah.
even if
Yeah.
they themselves do it. They're not.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
That's the
That's the
problem.
very trick. And that's
Yeah,
exactly why I stayed as long as I stayed. And that's
yeah,
why we should never blame people who don't have the ability to see the signs or react to it.
right.
Or they should not even blame themselves if this is how they express themselves, because we learn this from our parents and innocently. So our parents did the
Right.
best they could. So we had examples, role
But
models.
why? That is
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of people, like,
Mm-hmm.
let's say a woman is now going on YouTube and she's watching this,
Yeah.
right? And she's like, yeah, sometimes I'm not happy, and sometimes my husband says hurtful things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she may, and this happens to men as well. This actually, in
Mm-hmm.
fact,
Of course.
happened to me
Of
in the
course.
past, right? So um, people will listen to this and they will judge, oh, this person, you are weak. They
Yes. Why don't I speak for
they're
myself?
not fully
Mm-hmm.
understanding. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe let's
Yeah.
explain
Yeah.
quickly,
Let's go deeper in this
why
subject.
what
Yeah.
actually happens to the
Mm-hmm.
brain of
Mm-hmm.
a person that is inside the situation, and where did this problem even come to?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna
Yeah.
go deep. So
So we will leave the side of why does the person trying to control me through, let's say, criticism or saying my parents are bad. So that is issue on its own, and maybe
yeah,
that's innocent as well. So we're not
yeah,
trying to blame, but
yeah.
all of a sudden I'm in myself and I feel criticized, but I'm silent. I can't find my voice and I feel scared to say something. Where is this coming from? And why am I scared something? And what is happening inside of my mind?
What's happening
Mm-hmm.
physiologically in your
Yeah.
mind and your body?
Yeah.
This is very important
Yeah.
because literally, I think
Mm-hmm.
we don't have control until we
Mm-hmm.
solve this. So
Exactly.
so yeah.
Yeah.
Um
So we're not aware what we're not aware. So first step is catching myself. Oh, I wanted to say something I couldn't, or I wish I acted differently and I couldn't. So it's that self discovery, that self questioning. I wish I said to him something different. So the awareness is step one. Like, oh, why was I unable to say something? I'm not just quiet because I want to. I'm actually quiet because I'm unable to speak. What is happening? And then my mind goes crazy. Why don't I say something? I go actually criticizing myself. Speak up for yourself, girl. Like, let's Google everything, you know. So I'm actually trying to solve the problem. But in the situation where he's in front of me, maybe a little bit agitated, maybe a little bit angry, maybe a little bit judgmental, my reaction in my body goes like very, very intense. And in my body, I do not feel safe to face the conflict. So my body responses in a way that I am unable to find words. And sometimes we could go even into fawn response, which I would describe as people pleasing. So it's a stress response where me, instead of talking back or be argumentative or expressing, let's say, healthy disagreement or healthy anger in a way of, I feel that this is not something which resonates, I disagree, I say, oh, I know, darling, I'm so sorry. My friend is probably a little bit like, yeah. So it's my body which doesn't feel safe to express. And because I can't feel that discomfort in my body, I go with the automatic response, which is the freeze, or which is the pleasing him out of the discomfort in my body.
Let's make it clear. Anxiety like this is a defense mechanism of our nervous system. So when our nervous system is triggered and it is afraid, this is a separate part of our conscious mind. So underneath the surface, part of our brain that is in charge of protecting us and keeping us alive, this part of our brain thinks, oh no, I'm going to be killed, or I'm going to be abandoned, or I'm going to be hurt or abused, and it's just usually terrified to the point where it freezes.
Or fawns, yeah. But his protective part also reacts with the, let's say, outward anger or outward defensive mechanism, because we have lots of different stress responses where my default is to froze.
Yeah.
His default might be, sorry, I'm busy, babe, and just like walk away from me. That could be his response. Or defending, like, no, it wasn't me, I never said that. It's also just a default. So we're not judging how the symptoms present themselves, but what we need to catch is, I don't feel safe in my body to express myself. And that's where it's pointing us that we have some wound. We had some reason to have actually the self-inquiry to go deeper. And the problem is not this argument. The problem is not our partner. The problem is actually not what we talk about. The problem is me not being safe with that emotion, not me being safe to speak up.
I think that even if people understand, okay, most people, they are, I think, are at the level why they go to therapy is because they're not fully understanding it, that they are even don't feel safe, which is why I wanted to establish first that when this part of the mind is triggered and it thinks that you are in an existential danger, yes, some people, they attack and fight. Some people, they avoid and run away or defend. Right? And you are talking about the response where you either just freeze and you are brain fogged, or you try to appease the person that you are afraid of, right? And actually, in this state, we don't have control. So we do things that later we regret or don't understand why we did. This is why. So now that this is clear, why some women and even some men behave in this way, do things like this and accept abuse, it's because they literally for a short time lose control. And then we can start to get into the details of not feeling safe. Obviously, we behave like this when we don't feel safe, right?
Yes.
So,
yes.
So is it okay if I ask you a little bit about your background? Because I feel that there's something here. You have a beautiful half Aussie accent. And maybe
Yeah, you
yeah,
pointed it right. So I was born in the Czech Republic, and
okay.
last 15 years I live in Australia. So yeah, it's not
Okay.
quite half yet,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
maybe 3/4 in Czech and
Yeah.
1/4 in Australia.
Okay. So the reason that I'm asking this is because I know that, in the Czech Republic, a few years back or still now, there's, there's a certain culture, right? Great things and pluses and negatives everywhere in the world, right? Maybe that has some sort of connection to how you feel today, to the way that you grew up, right? So what are some messages that you absorbed from your culture growing up, or maybe your family? Was it that you should never speak up, that you don't have a voice, that your feelings are not important, that you should just be strong? What was your environment like, and what did they give you?
Yeah, all the above. So that's actually where the fear of me having voice or me having feelings is coming from. I think it's not just like Czech Republic thing, but
Yeah,
we now in a new age where the feelings matter. When I was growing up, emotions were not allowed in
yeah,
to be expressed.
yeah,
So disagreement was punished, me whinging was punished, me having needs which were not comfortable, or me um disobeying, or trying to have things differently, were not met with understanding and compassion, but rather with judgment. I don't complain too much, like, just go with the flow. So those sort of things I would hear, and that's where I call it trauma, or pattern of behavior of thinking is coming from, and that internalized as a voice. So when I'm about to bring a conflict, I would go like, oh, don't be too sensitive, don't say it now. So before I speak up, I go through many times to suppressing that inner voice of, like, that's okay, I'll just quickly do the dishes and don't ask for help, or I'll be fine to take care of the whole household because that's what my mum did and she was fine. Taking care of children is the mum's role, and we'll just put up with it. So a lot of those are actually unconscious learned behaviors, which is really hard to catch, that it is actually even my process of thinking before I speak, that I didn't speak 5 times before.
exactly. And I'll just share with you that
Mm-hmm.
I live in Vietnam. And here, I've already had the experience to talk with people, a lot of women, and try to understand the culture.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Vietnam and I love the culture, but some of the things that are not exactly great, and let's be honest, I hate, is that women have very strict rules and roles here. They have
Mm-hmm.
to cook, they have to clean, they have to do all those things. That's as part of the culture.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that can be sometimes empowering for some women, but most of the time it's repressing and very destructive and horrible.
Mm-hmm.
So let's not touch too much on when it can be good, but it's
Mm-hmm.
mostly the way that it's done, very damaging and hurtful. We can agree on this. And so, this is a problem that you can find in many places, but
Mm-hmm.
you'll find it more in places like Vietnam and in Czech Republic than in some areas in the US, for example, that are more wealthy. Why? Because in these parts of the world and in these cultures, there's a big emphasis on family values and on sacrificing yourself and on being part of a group. And
Mm-hmm.
in other places in the West, there's more emphasis on individuality. Like in Australia, they're very individual people, and they honor emotions and people's inner worlds, and they care about that a lot more. Whilst
Mm-hmm.
in I think in Czech Republic, you say I'm sad, and maybe a common thing your parents would say is, "I'll give you something to be sad about. You're not sad.
I
Your
love
life
that
is
one.
perfect." Right? So that's just how it is, right? So I'm breaking down like the
Yeah.
components that
Yes.
got you to where you were emotionally. Like so
Yeah.
yeah,
Very interesting. But like, I do not live in Czech Republic, and I
right.
thought maybe by removing myself out of the dynamics and not marrying a Czech man, I will escape the, let's say, pattern or the
This fate.
role. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
right.
And I
And what
didn't. I
happened?
took it with
And
me. I
you
took it
did
with me.
exactly, yeah.
So
Yeah.
what we have to do, we have to actually heal our past.
Yeah.
And that's where I landed. That's what is
Before
the,
we get there,
yeah,
because you have an amazing story. So can you share now, like, yeah, you felt
trapped.
bad in your relationship, you were
Hmm.
trapped, and somehow this ended up in a very bad situation for you. So can you share, please?
Yeah. So um I would also like to say that I was blind to the whole situation. So as I was feeling that the door is closing on me slowly, I was not paying attention to little signs of how, the lease is under his name, the car is under his name, and he, had a lot of my money I invested in his business and things like that. So all in a sudden, I was in a very unfavorable situation. And the other thing, I was blind to that the hurt is happening because I was not sensing of what is my territory, what is my boundaries, and how do I protect it. So we were very enmeshed with each other. And it was creeping in until I realized that the rules that are now being in place are very, very hard for me to hold for a long time. So the last point was where I was asked not to have a contact with my younger daughter, because from a previous relationship, I have an older daughter. And when there was a condition to stop seeing my own daughter, then I could kind of see the full picture of it's not fair for her, for my daughter, not to see her mum. Because until then, it was all about me. Okay, I can still like get away with this one. I can, please you. We can come a conclusion or to compromise with this. But when it wasn't about me, I could have the fuller picture or the view of the objectivity that it's not fair for my daughter. And how do I do that?
It's
And
no
then
longer about you.
exactly.
You
So
now are being asked to sacrifice and hurt your own daughter, and
too much when
that's
it
a
was,
line you
yeah.
cannot cross.
Yeah, and that's where the mama bear kind of, had to came up and say, enough is enough. And I do have authority over my life, over my decisions. And I started to realize what were the other things. And that was the breakthrough where I started to understand the fuller picture, that it was actually built that way, that it wasn't an accident that I have no money in my account. It's not an accident that I don't have car under my name. And I had to make a quick decision to get myself in a situation where I can continue seeing my older daughter, where I can continue have a, healthy life, access to money, to go to work, and to rebuild my life from there.
So it ended up in you, at least periodically for a time, living in a car with a baby, something like this.
I didn't have a car, so I just took literally a carrier. I didn't even have a pram. And I end up in a women's refuge. So that's a social net which is helping women escaping domestic violence in Australia. So I applied for being placed into a women's shelter. That's another way to another name for it. And I was placed for a month in a women's shelter where I meet other women and realize we all share a similar story. What is happening? There's a lot of similarities, different economic backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds, but very similar story. And that's where I started to see the pattern, this, similarities between us. And I realized I'm not alone, because victims often feel like this is my unique circumstances. No one can help me. No one's is understanding me, and they feel very shame alone, and that no one gets them in their unique circumstances. But through there, I realized that stories are very similar. So I was there with my older daughter, which was from this relationship. She was at 8 months, and we shared a little bed together, while the older one was with her dad from the previous relationship. And I was looking for, rebuilding my life from there. So looking for my own place to live, finding a job, finding a stable income, finding a daycare for the younger one, and starting on my own. Yeah.
So that's amazing. It's such a difficult and scary decision. So um
And I was alone in another country. So that
yeah.
was another reason. So it would not happen in my own country, because I had the grandparents, or I had friends, or I had some social security around me, and also probably people would keep an eye on me, what's happening. But it was through COVID, and it was while I was isolated from family and friends. So yeah.
So really that's very courageous, and I just want to commend you, because I'm sure that this has been one of the best decisions in your life, to get away from this and to choose you and to choose your daughter. That's a natural order of things. Sometimes, parents, they sacrifice their children for a bad partner, an abusive partner. It happens very often, and that's sad. But you didn't. You did the hard thing that was true, and that requires a lot of strength. Um, but one thing doesn't make enough sense to me right now, because you said that they need to heal inside, that this problem and this emotional disease, let's call it, followed you from your childhood all the way across the world to Australia. And what is this inner healing? What is this emotional healing? What is the difference between you before you started this healing process and after, so that some people can understand what do they need why would they do this? Does it even work? Because they have so much fears and so much doubts. They usually feel like they have no hope. They can never change.
Such a good question, such a potent question. I love it. And the difference between me not being healed and me being healed. So I noticed that my life is not going the way I want it. I knew that there is, a lot of conflict, a lot of drama, and I'm not getting this family I wanted. So I had a vision, and I was, doing daily affirmations or whatever, listening to podcasts, like picturing the beautiful family, mom and dad and 2 children, and just holidays, and the reality was different. So there was one world of the dreams of even what he was, saying or picturing, and then was the reality, which was a lot of tears, lots of drama, a lot of conflict, a lot of just sad evenings where I was just in despair, a lot of me being in like, how do I put this together? So I was in sad, deep moment where I was just like, I can no longer do this on my own. And through listening to podcasts, I actually heard this lady who was mentioning boundaries and the world of, emotions and stuff. And something about her voice just called me to reach out to her. She was my first trauma healing therapist or person I reached out to, because something in that podcast just spoke to my heart. Reached out to her and did first sessions with her. And we actually find me being disconnected with my anger, with my healthy anger. And that kind of closes the loops to what you introduced at the beginning. I was not safe to express my no. Why was that? So she did go to early memories, where was the origin of this, where I was punished for my no's, where I was punished for disagreement. And through that fear of my mom would hit me, or I would be disliked by saying no, I was scared to say no in the relationship. But once she healed that fear in me by going in the original situation, in the original story, I was no longer, because I completed the cycle and I went like through the tunnel of thinking I'm dying because this is the worst feeling I've ever had. But because she can hold the space for me, she was there guiding me through that experience, and my scared body was not wanting to go through the tunnel of feeling fear of saying no. Then in a real life, I felt like I can say no. And even if it has a consequences, I can survive. I'll be okay.
So I think to paint a better picture,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of therapy is done, like people they don't even bother going. Now, don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
For some people, therapy is absolutely necessary and absolutely helpful, and it can save lives, and it has its purposes. That doesn't change the reality that often therapists are just prolonging problems and enabling problems, and they don't get to the root of the issue,
Mm-hmm.
either because they don't know how, they're not trained to do it, or they themselves have never done it. And we look at therapists and psychologists as leaders, but sometimes they are not.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes. I
Mm-hmm.
want to make it very clear.
Mm-hmm.
And what you are describing for women is to be brave, to talk about things that they wish sometimes that they want to forget, but how important it is to once and for all come to a conclusion and understand it and find it in your past and eliminate this pattern so that you
Yes.
can change your behavior and start honoring yourself, start respecting yourself instead of giving power to a man that cannot respect you.
Yes, 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 yes. And this is probably even like it's in general, not just for women, it's for men as well. Like we can come to a right therapist just with the symptoms, with not knowing, like, I don't know, my childhood was perfect. This is actually the first sentence I told my therapist. And so like, could this come from your childhood? I'm like, I don't think so. I had a perfect childhood. You're like, okay, let's have a look.
Yeah, we're used to that because that's the reality that a lot that men and women
Yeah.
are coming, they're getting to a bit older ages, and then they're discovering, oh, there's this whole huge, enormous side of myself that is my feelings and my personality. I've never even looked at that, never even
Neither
thought
have
about
I.
that.
Exactly.
So the point is that if you are feeling like you are not happy, and the person that is supposed to love and protect you is actually hurting you, even if they are a good person, even if they mean well, that doesn't mean it's okay. And often these people, once you confront them and set boundaries, you see the real side of them, and they are not nice people at all. They're not good people at all. Often, not always. Everybody's very different, so I need to be careful about what I'm saying. But that is the solution that you offer, and you work with people, right? You work with women, a lot of women who have gone through similar things.
Yeah.
What are some results or some things that have happened
Mm-hmm.
with women that you've worked with?
Mm-hmm. So I would like to also explain why I felt like my childhood was perfect, and then coming like through that transformation, I realized there were some hurtful
Why
details.
you held this delusion? Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
let's hear
yeah.
it.
It's very innocent because
Yeah.
there is a difference between traumatic upbringing, which is, full of neglect, violence, which is like out there, and people can say like, yeah, my, parents didn't bring me up. It was my grandparents, but they were not there. I was like with uncles, sorry, and aunties. And you can straight away feel, I didn't have that much drama or that much trauma, big T trauma in my childhood. So from that perspective, I have no reason to complain. I have mom, I had dad, they didn't divorce, they look after me, they gave me dinner every night. And I'm very grateful for the foundations they laid for me. But the trauma can even happen unintentionally. Trauma can happen even if they mean well, but there happens a misunderstanding, me not feeling, safe to express myself. But for my parents, it wasn't to hurt me, it wasn't to control me, it was to raise me well. So I am not blaming them for being mean or like causing stress in my life or to traumatize me through that experience. That's why some people don't even feel they have a trauma in their life or don't have a reason to complain. So how is the difference between the big T trauma, which is something very traumatic, like let's say car accident, and something very little as your dad not buying you ice cream? You can be very traumatized by that experience, not because it's so big, so significant, but because your ability to process that emotion in that moment, so it can stay with you for a long, long time and make you feel like you're not worthy, you're not deserving, there's something wrong with you, the universe never gives me what I want, just from that single event. And it's very innocent and it's buried down, but as it keeps replaying in your life, every time you face that situation that something doesn't go your way, it triggers that old wound. And sometimes you're scared of putting yourself out there because you are afraid of feeling that old wound. So that's where the protective behavior can hold you back, as you're scared to ask your boss for promotion, because that is that same pattern of me asking my dad for ice cream and I'm not getting it. And I'm so scared of being disappointed that I will never ask. So what we see is the protective mechanism of being scared to say no, being scared to have courage, being scared to ask for promotion, being scared. Yeah, I don't know. You can ask me another question, Simon. Sorry.
We
I
tend
think
to
I made a
generalize.
point. Yeah.
We tend to generalize what happened to us in the past, and this is what will happen in the future. But
Yes,
it's
yes.
not.
And minimize and delete. We
Yes.
delete what is convenient and we minimize, oh, my father is amazing. I love him. He was always there for me. But we forget that one time that he was drunk or he was furious and he scared us to death one time. That
Yeah.
is enough to traumatize a child that's weak and helpless for the rest of his life. But most of us have many events. So, I'd like to wrap it up. We don't want to have too long of a recording here. But I think my advice is to not follow this idea that I don't have any trauma and therefore I don't need any therapy. It's to look at what is here and now, what is real. Am I happy? Do I feel supported in my work, in my life, by my partner? Do I feel heard? Do I feel loved? Do I feel appreciated? Yes, 100%, no problem. No, even a little? Look into it. And you will always find something that you don't expect. That is my advice, because otherwise you'll putting yourself first forever, sometimes until it's too late. A lot of people could.
Not always it ends up in like a broken relationship. No, not always it means like your partner is not supportive of your new journey. It could be the other way around. And I saw, a beautiful transformations. So mine was, a bit out there, bit loud and bit traumatic, even, for my daughters. But the inner work will help you not just in a relationship, but of that daily discomfort, which is kind of hanging always at the back of your mind of, being very self-critical, or being scared, go on a podcast or have a career of your life. Whatever is holding you back, you can heal through the trauma, because the fear is usually going back to something such as yeah.
So what happened? The women that you've worked with, you went from not honoring yourself and pleasing a man that was hurting you to courageously leaving him. And now I don't know if you have a relationship, but I'm sure that if you did, it would be way, way better. Right?
Yeah. Now I did extensive research also. What are the red flags and how do I react? And how can I walk away from any stage of a relationship if it's not serving my purpose? How can I establish and hold the boundaries? So now I'm a new person, and my past relationship wouldn't last the first date because I would hold up myself differently, and I have different knowledge now. But mentioning just what transformation my clients have, it's not always the same thing. So for me, and I was closest to
Just
my
give a
own
few,
journey.
yeah.
Yeah. So I have also walked someone through a journey of deciding whether this relationship is for me, yes or no. And she was holding on to that relationship from a fear of being alone, from a fear of being judged. So I would go with her through the journey, through the tunnel of what happened in my past that I felt judged, what happened in my past that I felt fear that I will be alone, which could originate again like through the dysfunctional family where she felt rejected by her parents, and by feeling no matter who leaves me.
Yeah. So so in short, you worked with her and you helped her to understand herself and her feelings a lot more.
Meet herself.
And she's now able to know if a man is good for her or not easily, and make decisions that are good for her and good for her
Not from
future
fear.
without fear, without guilt. That's amazing. That's a
And
life
at
transformation.
the end of it, she actually did end up calling a counselor, and she ended up actually inviting that person for open discussion of how can the relationship 2.0, like starting again, looks like.
Yeah.
Is she giving him a chance to meet her where she's now or stay as he are? But that gap would be too big. But she gave him the invitation with the vulnerable, like, I'm here, I want us, but this is what needs to come with it. And she did it so open-heartedly, as like inviting him to a better relationship where she can show up as her full self, better self. So it wasn't like, see ya, shutting the door, you're not good enough for me. But because she was not scared to offer more, but also ask for more, she gave the opportunity to him to step up in the most loving way, because she does love him. So that was a beautiful, gentle transformation. And it did lead into better relationship rather than the breakup. So I'm not guiding people to break up. I'm guiding people to have a better quality relationship with themselves, with their family, their children, and their partners.
That's amazing. So if somebody wants to work with you, what is the best way? Do you have a website or some channel that you are active in?
Yeah, it would be best to make a clickable link underneath, but it's ivanacare.com, IVANACARE.com.
So it's your website, and they can book a call with you or send you a message. We will include all the links below. Absolutely.
Lovely.
In the comment. Awesome, Ivana. Thank you so much. This was really interesting. I appreciate you and your transformation, and what you do is so important, because women who are in touch with their feelings and are not afraid, they are better people, they are better mothers, they are better partners, they are happier, they are healthier, they are more beautiful, they are more attractive. Everything is better. Everything is better when they get the safety and love that they need.
Understand.
So,
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Thank you so much for guiding me and grounding me, because you helped me to actually dive deeper and slow me down from mentioning things too general, and slow down and mention the thing in a way that the audience can understand. So
it's my
I'm
pleasure.
really
No
happy how
problem.
it turned out. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you.